Hi there, Becky Kang here to give you an introduction to Latin for Children. If you're new to that, I am going to walk you through what you need to know so you'll have success and confidence and enjoy this text. Latin for Children is one of my favorite curriculums to introduce students to Latin. Why? Well, number one, it defines terms. When it tells you to conjugate a verb, they define conjugation. When they ask you to decline a noun, they define declension. These are terms that are necessary in order for a student to do what is asked. That's why it's one of my favorite curriculums. They also only introduce 10 words every week. I think that's fabulous. So buckle your seatbelt and join me for an explanation on how to go through this book. If you look here on the screen, this is chapter 1 in Latin for Children, Primer A, and they have 5 verbs and 5 nouns. The verbs are listed with 4 principal parts, and each part has a specific name and it has a specific job. This means I love, amo. This is to love, amare. This one, third one, means I loved, amawi. The V is pronounced as a W. And this is loved, amatu. This is the supine, the past participle. So when we do our vocabulary, when we chant it, we chant all 4 principal parts at the same time, like this. Amo, amare, amawi, amatu. I love, to love, I loved, loved. Breathe. Do, dare, dedi, datu. I give, to give, I gave, given. Intro, intrare, intravi, intratum. I entered, to enter, I entered, entered. Laboro, laborare, laboravi, laboratum. I work, to work, I worked, worked. Nero, nerare, neravi, neratum. I tell, to tell, I told, told. You notice when I hit my R that I rolled my R just a little bit. These are the 5 verbs, and each week you have 10 vocabulary words. In chapter 1, you have 5 verbs, and then they also have 5 nouns, 5 first declension nouns, 5 nouns that first declension means that the nominative, the subject, ends in the letter A, and the second ending, the genitive, is AE. And I would encourage students to begin their review of their lesson by reciting the vocabulary verbally out loud. Aqua, aquae, water. Fabula, fabulae, story. Porta, portae, gate or door. Silva, silvae, forest or woods. Terra, terrae, earth or land. So these are the 10 vocabulary words that are in chapter 1. And then I ask my students to conjugate verbs and decline nouns. What that means, so I'm going to show you how to do that by this. So this is what I call my verb conjugation sheet form. And students have 4 blanks at the top to write their 4 principal parts of the verb. And so we're going to write amo, amare, amawi, amatum at the top here. So go ahead and do that now. Amo, amare, amawi, amatum. And you'll notice that there are some words that have what we call a macron. A macron is a long mark, and you can go ahead and check to see if there are any of those and do that. Because in some tutorials, if you don't write them, they actually mark it wrong. So there you go. Now you can see that in my book, I have colored endings, the color green. I choose to use a color system to help students identify endings, because Latin's all about stems and endings. I just want to make it easier for their eyes to see the ending versus the stem. So what I'm going to do, all my verbs are green. I'm going to take this green highlighter and I'm going to highlight the ending O, R-E, I, and T-U-M because those are the endings. And then in my book, O, R-E, I, T-U-M. I want students with their eyes to see the difference between the stem and the ending. Once the four principal parts of the verb are written at the top, then we're going to find our stem. Remember, Latin's all about stems and endings. So to find a stem, you're going to go to the infinitive. The infinitive is the second principal part of the verb. That's what it is. So you're going to go to the infinitive. You're going to cross out the R-E. And you're left with the stem. So if I asked you to spell it, it's A-M-A, just like that. And you're going to put that right there. A-M-A. Then you're going to write the stem 6 times in here. You're going to write the A-M-A here and A-M-A in here. This is the singular column. And then this is the plural column. You're going to write that 6 times. Looks like my pen is running out of ink. And after you do that, it says to add the personal endings. So that's what we're going to do. Now, before we write our personal endings, we're going to go back up here and we're going to say, what does A-M-A mean? What does it mean? Well, it actually means love. This is a command, love. A-M-A, when you just say or write a stem, it means it's a command, love. This one means love. If I said D-A, it means give. If I said I-N-T-R-A, it means enter. If I said labora, it means work. If I said nera, it means tell. So the stem alone is a command. And this is what it means. We write that there. So all 4 principal parts at the top highlight the endings. So you're training the student to see the ending from the stem. To find the stem, you go to the infinitive, which is the second principal part of the verb. You cross out the R-E and you're left with the stem. Okay, you then, to conjugate the verb, you're going to write the stem 6 times and add the personal endings. Now, those personal endings are on my Latin verb sheet that I have for students. And this is the present verb endings here. It's O-S-T, mus, tis, unt. It means in English, I, you, he, she, it. We, you, all, they. I, you, he, she, it. We, you, all, they. So those are the present verb endings. Those are the endings that we learn pretty much up until chapter 16 in Latin Primer A. And so those are the endings that we're going to put on here. O-S-T, mus, tis, unt. Okay. And then we're going to highlight them in green. Again, in the very beginning and always, I'm teaching students to separate the stems from the endings because that's Latin. That's what Latin's all about. Amo, O in Latin, as you saw from this sheet, O means I. So you're going to translate the English over here, I. And A-M-A means love. So you're going to write love in there. Then S in Latin means you. So you're going to write you over here. It's the subject pronoun. A-M-A, again, what does A-M-A mean? Love. Okay. This is the English meaning we're writing. What does T mean? Good question. It means he, she, or it. It could be either one. And so I'm going to write he, I'm going to write she, I'm going to write it. And again, what does AMA mean? It means love. We don't say I love. I mean, we don't say he love. We say he loves. She loves. It loves. That's how we proper conjugation is. We put an S. I've had some students say, oh, it must be plural because there's an S. No, that's just the rule, how we do it on that third person singular. We have an S. All right, moving on to the plural section. Moose means we. So we're going to translate that we. And again, AMA means love. Okay. Then tis, we look at our sheet, it means you all, y'all, if you're from the South, and AMA, same thing, it means love, right? And nt, what does nt mean? It means they, okay, they. And AMA means love, okay? So as you can see here, right here, I have some helping verbs. Am, is, are, do, does. So actually, there are 3 different ways you can translate amo. One way is I love. The second way is I am loving. Amo means the same way, I am loving. And the third way is the emphatic way is I do love. I do love. Then the second one is you love, then you are loving. You are loving. And the emphatic way is you do love. I'm squishing things here and it doesn't look good, sorry. Okay, the third way of translating into English, amat, is he, she, or it is. I'm just going to put H for he, S for she, and I for it, is loving. And then the emphatic using the do or does, he, she, or it does. He, she, or it does love. Okay, sorry about the messiness there. Need a little more room. All right, let's move on to the first person plural. We love, we are loving. We can translate amamus is we are loving. That is very proper to do that. And then the emphatic is we do love. Okay. Amatis, you all love, you all are loving. You all are loving. And the emphatic is when you do or does, you take your fist and I do, right? You all do love. And last but not least, they love, they are loving, or they do love. So those are the 3 different ways you can translate Latin into English. And before we move on, you can see the difference here. This is AMO, this is AMAO. Why is there a discrepancy there? And it's because the system, the way I've taught how to conjugate, I don't give any exceptions. I just say this is the way you do it. And for the most part, this is how you conjugate a verb. But you can clearly see that this is different than this. And so I want to tell you for this kind of verb is a first conjugation. It means it's the first kind of verb. We have 4 kinds of verbs. So for first conjugation verbs that end in ARE, you can see that in that infinitive, it ends in ARE. Do you see that? For the first person singular, you get rid of that A. Why? Why do you get rid of it? I'll tell you why. They didn't want to say it. They just said, we don't like it. We don't want to say it. We're not going to say amao. We're going to say ama. We're going to get rid of it. And I guess they did because it's gone. So don't say it or you'll be wrong. But eventually you'll figure it out. Now, I've had some students where I say that and guess what? They get rid of that A and they get rid of that A. And I'm like, no, don't do that. So they'll eventually see, because they're writing out all 4 principal parts at the tippy top, they'll see, oh, where's that A? That's right. There's an exception. For the first person singular, we get rid of the A. Eventually, you'll learn it. In my opinion, it's not a big deal. You'll understand, you'll get it. So that is the explanation for verbs. You're going to conjugate every verb in the entire book. And as a result, you're going to know what these verbs, you're just going to be more thorough in your understanding. So there you go. That is your explanation on verbs. And I hope that helps. I typed up for my classes all the verbs so they would know on a list what they are. And as you can see on this page, it says first conjugation verbs ending in ARE. We have 39. So you will be conjugating 39 verbs. And then we have the second kind of verb, which ends in long ERE. And there are 20 of those. So a total of 60 verbs you'll be conjugating. And that gives you a good understanding of verbs, I think, and a good, lot of good vocabulary there too, a lot of good derivatives you can learn. Now for our nouns, we have a noun declension form. And you have blanks up here that you're going to fill in on from your vocabulary list. And in chapter 1, we have the first one, aqua, aquae. So we're going to write that down. Nominative means subject. The first word is always the subject in a sentence. So you're going to write that down, Q-U-A, aqua. And the second word is the genitive, aquae. Okay. In this case, since most of these words are feminine in gender, I color the endings pink. I say most because we have 4 words that are masculine. That's an exception. Most of them are feminine. So the stem, remember Latin's all about stems and endings. So how do we find the stem? And here's the instructions up here. Go to the genitive. Cross out the genitive ending. And you're left with the stem. So that's A, Q, U. You're going to write that down right there. And what I'm showing you right now is what I want you to do for every single noun. Why? Because I want your hand to fall off? No, no, no. Because you're going to have a comprehensive understanding of the word and how it operates in the sentence. This is, so I'm a tennis pro, and when I teach my students how to hit a forehand, how to hit a backhand, I teach them basics. We do routine, the regimen, the same old, same old. This is what you do to your foundation. It's your warm-ups, okay? This is what gets the word in your head. So this declension is a first declension. So you're going to put a first. And this actually is a fabulous question. When you look at a word, you must put in your brain what kind of word noun this is. Is this a first declension? Is it one that ends in A and AE? Let me just show you my chart here. Okay, so first declension ends in A and AE. Second declension ends in us and E, or second neuter, second has a neuter, and E. This genitive ending right here, this I, that's your indicator what kind of noun this is. Is it a first kind that ends in AE? Is it a second kind that ends in I? Okay, this is all we learn in Latin Primer A, but actually it goes on. There's a third kind. And that genitive is IS. See that? Here's a neuter. It's IS. Looking at the next one. Again, we're third. They're purple. The genitive is IS. It's a little overwhelming. If there's a possible 100 endings, that's a lot of endings to learn. So that first question, when you see a word, if you can put it in a category, what declension it is it a first? Is it a second? Is it a third? And is it a fourth? A fourth, the genitive is us with the macron over it. And a fifth is has EI with 2 macrons. So there are technically 5 different kinds of nouns. So this is such a crucial question. You must answer this question. And so this aqua is a first, and the gender is feminine. So I have these pieces of information up here because these are the pieces that I want you to memorize. Now, sadly, I left out the meaning. So why don't we put it in right here? It means water, water, water. Okay. And so back to the top, how to decline the noun. It says go to the genitive, cross out the genitive ending. You're left with the stem. Write the stem 10 times. Okay, so AQU 10 times. We're going to write it right here. And I usually race my students to see who can write it the quickest, the fastest. But slowly here. And then when we finish writing those, we're going to do what it says here. We're going to add our noun case ending. Okay, so once you write these 10 times, and you're writing them 10 times because you have what we call 5 noun jobs. A case is a noun job. Okay, a noun job. The first case is the nominative. That's the subject, subject noun. The second case is the genitive. Now this is showing possession. PNA, possessive noun adjective. The third case is the dative. This is the indirect object. It answers to whom or for whom. The fourth case is accusative. This is your direct object, and it answers what? The fifth and last is the ablative, and it is an object of the preposition. So these 5 nouns, okay, they're nouns, noun cases. They're 5 noun cases. They're 5 noun cases. Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, and ablative. These are the 5 cases. You will learn them. Suffice to say, in the middle are the Latin names. And on my noun sheet here, I actually have a case key up at the tippy top. Then we say what they are underneath, and students quickly learn them. And then I actually put them in the side. Subject noun, PNA for possessive noun adjective, IO, IO, indirect object, DO for direct object, and OP for object of the preposition. And that's what they first learned. So back to how to decline a noun, write the stem 10 times, and then add the noun case endings. Well, depending on which kind of noun we're doing, right? And we're doing a first declension, I'm going to use all of these endings. In chapter 6 and 7, we learn about second declension. 8 and 9, we learn about second neuter, so we're going to use these endings. But Latin is all about stems. You get your stem from your genitive. Go to the genitive. Cross out the genitive ending, and you're left with the stem. So the stem for aqua is AQU. The stem for fabula is FABUL. The stem for portai is PORT. The stem for silvi is SILV. And the stem for terrai is TERR. So you wrote it 10 times, and now you're going to add your endings. And these are the endings you're going to add. I, is, us, is. I, I'm going to put a macron over that. I, arum, is, us, is. And if you look at these, some of them do have macrons. Remember, macron is the little line that goes over it. So put those in. And arum, is, us, is has a macron. So arum, is, us, is. Then take your pink highlighter and highlight the endings. Again, we want your I to differentiate between the stem and the ending, because Latin is all about the stems and the endings. Just like in the verb, we're going to write the meaning. So here you go. You ready? Aqua means water. You can either write an article adjective before if you want, or leave it out. It doesn't matter. Water. And then the genitive is translated of the water. Okay. Aquae, this one, the dative translation, is to the water or for the water. Okay. Aquam is the water. And aquae is by, with, from the water. It's actually any preposition that makes sense. Okay. But we just say by, with, or from the water. Now let's go to the plural section. Okay. On the other side, aquae is waters. Okay. The genitive is of the waters. Remember, this is the plural, right? This is the plural section. This is to, comma, or for the waters. So what makes more sense when you're translating, to say to the waters or for the waters? Aquas is the waters or waters. The article adjectives have no word. They're just included. You add them. My husband's Korean, and he says, we don't have article adjectives in Korean. We just add them if we need them in English when you're translating. And so a lot of times he puts them in. So same thing with English. All right. And then right here, it's by, with, or from the waters. So there you go. What we just did was we declined a noun. You write the nominative and the genitive, and you find that piece of information from here. This is what you're going to do as my student in the class. You're going to decline every noun. Why? It is not torture. It is information so that you are thorough and complete in your understanding of words and the 5 different cases, whether it's operating as the subject, aqua or aquae, singular and plural, whether it's the genitive, singular, aquae, plural, aquarum, the dative, the indirect object, aquae, aquis, the direct object, singular, aquam, aquas, and the object of the preposition, the ablative, aquae, aquis. You can see that some endings are exactly the same, and that's a little confusing. But what you learn is you test, you treat the Latin like a puzzle, and you say, could this by chance be the subject, this ending, AE? Let me see. Let me check the verb. Oh, the verb is singular ending, and we know that subjects and verbs must agree. So if the subject is singular, if the verb ending is singular, the subject cannot be this plural ending. Therefore, this AE on the end of aqua is operating as a different job. So you make, in Latin, you're making observations and you're puzzling out the translations to see what would fit. So don't be confused just because there are multiple endings with the same. You're going to learn how, by process of elimination, how to make that work. Okay, so basically you learned how to decline a noun, you learned how to conjugate a verb. That's what you need in this class. And every week you have more vocabulary words, and that's how we do it. Now, after 4 chapters, Latin Primer A gives a review in chapter 5. You've learned 40 words they set up here. They want you to review every day. It's a lot easier for you just to review while you're brushing your teeth. You've got your Latin up in front of the bathroom and you're just seeing them and you're saying them. they're going to give you a little quiz and a test. So that's what chapter 5 is. So please do that. Okay. And the best part that I think are learning those derivatives. With amo, amare, amawi, amatu, my love, to love, I love, love. You're going to learn that amity, amorous, amateur, and enamour all come from that word. Donate, and donation. This is fabulous to expand your vocabulary. Very important to do that. So that's chapter 5. And then chapter 6, as I told you, you're going to learn the second noun, the second declension. You're going to get out your noun declension sheet, and you're going to write the nominative and the genitive of those words. So puer, pueri at the top. And you're going to make sure you put the meaning in there too. And you're going to do this process for every noun that's in the book. You're going to be very knowledgeable about these vocabulary words if you stick to that. So I want you to take a look at the nouns that I've typed up. These are all the first declension. And you can see 31, 32, 33, and 34 are the 4 first declension kind of nouns, but their gender is masculine. And I colored it in blue. So you'll know that. Now, the second kind of noun is second declension, and these are those. And then the third, well, no, the second, it's still a part of the second. It's the second declension neuter. The gender is neuter, so the gender is different. The nominative ending is but the genitive ending is an I, which we pronounce E. Okay, you're going to decline all these nouns in this curriculum. Again, if you do a little bit at a time, it's very doable, but I've got them all typed up here. So after that, what we do is we go into chapter 10, which again is similar to chapter 5. It's a review, which is what I love about classical education, is we always review what we just learned, and that brings, solidifies in the brain. You're going to remember. Review, review, review. So you're going to review all those words. Again, part of helping you review is learning the derivatives. That you've got to get a picture as soon as you're introduced to a vocabulary word that's going to be, you're going to be able to recall that. Okay, so good tips on that. And then after chapter 10, in chapter 11, they are introducing adjectives. Adjectives. Adjectives match the noun they're describing in gender and number and case. As you can see, my masculine endings are blue. Makes sense, right? Feminine or pink. This is my singular column. This is my plural column. But the neuter, I would have liked to have made it white. But how am I going to say, look at the white? I mean, it's the page is white, so I made it yellow. So if you look at those endings, I'll show you here. They're similar to the second. The genitive is the same ending. The dative is the same ending. Accusative is the same ending for the singular. The ablative is the same. So o, same ending. And look at here. Look at the genitive. Orum, is, that's different, and is. So when you learn these endings, you're basically learning these endings. There is a little difference. It's the subject and the direct object, the nominative and the accusative. They're different. So each chapter, the student is going to decline all nouns, and they're going to conjugate all verbs. That's every chapter. In addition, you're going to review your endings. And so with the verbs, you're going to go ost, mustis, unt. I, you, he, she, it, we, you, all, they. And then for your nouns, you're going to go I, I, arum, is, us, is. Us, I, o, I orum is os is. I o o. A orum is a is. And that's just chanting. You're just going to do that again. It has a page protector on it, so you're going to brush your teeth. I don't know what you're going to do. Put it in the car. I find that we have more time than we realize. Put it on the refrigerator. When you're looking for the refrigerator, be chanting your endings. Parents can be very helpful. I would quiz my children constantly. I would have these things in the car. We would be saying them. But we're looking for mastery. And we eventually, once they have it, they have it. I love classical conversations, put little tunes, little ditties. This is bingo. I am, singular first declension. I autumn is us is. I autumn is us is. I autumn is us is, plural first declension. And then for second declension, they used jingle bells. Oos e o o, oos e o o, oos e o o, oos e o o. Really, they just kept singing that? Okay, that sounds repetitive. I'm going to go e orm is os is, e orm is os is, e orm is os is, e orm is os is. Oh, and then second neuter, what did I do? I think I did row, row, row your boat. E o a autumn is a is e o a autumn is a is. Now I am kind of high, so if you want to keep it, put it down low, you can do it low. Let me think. Oh, I don't like low. E o a autumn is a is e o a autumn is a is. Oh, it's so low. Anyways, whatever way you want to memorize those endings, do it. Whatever gets it in. So Latin's all about stems and endings. You know your endings, you're able to recall them. That's what I have my students do every day. Recite your vocab, recite your endings, conjugate your verbs, decline your nouns. In chapter 11, we introduced adjectives. The good thing about this is there's no new endings than what you've learned. These are the same endings that you've learned. The only thing we did was we took phrases and I taught you how to do a phrase. I can show you right here. If you look in chapter 12, they have the adjective serenus aum. And you notice that adjectives are listed differently. They don't have the nominative and they don't have the genitive. And the reason for that is you only need the nominative. Bonus aum, malus aum, notus aum, ignotus aum, novus aum, antiquus aum, serenus aum. You only need the nominative because you know by the nominative ending that these are the endings that you're going to use. In this case, the these are the endings you're going to use when you are looking for an ending for your noun, the correct ending for your adjective to match your noun. Or if your noun is neuter, you're going to be using these. See that? Neuter. Okay, so adjectives are listed in the vocabulary different than the nouns because they have, well, look at this in chapter 11. They actually wrote it out for you. Parvus, parva, parvum. Verus, vera, verum. Falsus, falsa, falsum. Dubia, dubius, dubia, dubium. They wrote it out. And they said, you know what? They're smart. They've got it. We're just writing the endings. They want to save ink, right? So these are adjectives. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to decline serena, calm, bright, and clear, right? Oh, it's calm. Oh, it's bright, So there you go. I'm going to take that adjective. I'm going to highlight my endings. And how do you find your stem? You go to the genitive, you cross out the genitive ending and you're left with the stem. So it's S-E-R-E-N. And what does S-E-R-E-N mean? It means calm or bright or clear. This is a first declension adjective. It's an adjective. Serena is an adjective. It answers the question, what kind, which one, how many. That's what adjectives do. And this one is feminine, okay? So we're going to decline this. We're going to write S-E-R-E-N 10 times. And what I want to show you all is how to take this adjective and how it works with the noun that it's describing. So we're going to use the same endings as the first declension, the same ones up here. So it's using these endings. Oh, let's see, bingo. Oh, I, ah. Okay, so let's put that on. Ah, I, ah, with a macron. I, is, as, is. And put your macrons on too, your little long marks, right? Okay, and then put your color on. Again, I want your eye to see the stems from the endings. Now, you know what this means. This means calm. Which word do you want to take? Calm water, bright water, or clear water? Let's take clear. Clear. So this means clear, but I want to show you something. Serena, Aqua. Adjectives match the noun they're describing in gender and number and case. So if we're going to decline a noun like these two, and we want in a sentence, we want to see what these look like in a sentence. This is what it's going to look like. You would say aqua, just like this one, right? Can you see that on my screen? Aqua, Serena, Serena. And this would be translated the clear water, right? And then if we wanted to make it the genitive, did I just put an E on there? I'm sorry, guys. Aquae, Serenae. And that is of the clear water. That's how we translate that. And again, are you seeing what I'm doing here? A, E, A, E. I'm taking this noun, I'm taking this adjective, and I'm putting them together. This is how you would see them in a sentence, okay? This is operating as the subject. This is operating as the genitive or the possessive noun adjective. And that might be a little too much for you right now since we're just beginning and you're not really understanding how these fit in a sentence, but I'm just labeling them for you. They're jobs, okay? So just take it as a label. This is the subject, okay? And this is the adjective describing the subject noun. This is a possessive noun adjective. Okay, this next one is the indirect object, what we call the dative. And that is translated actually the same way the genitive is, which can get tricky. And which is why I said, don't worry about it. You can figure it out by process of elimination. But it is translated differently. It's to the clear water or for the clear water. It's translated differently. Okay. Now, the direct object or the accusative is AQUAM SERENAM. And that's translated the calm. Did I say calm? I meant the clear water. The clear water. Sorry about that. And last but not least, the ablative is AQUA with a macron. And the adjective is serenai with the macron. And it's by, with, or from. You pick the preposition that makes sense. The clear water. There you go. So I love this. I think it's an seriously, yeah. And what's interesting about the adjective is adjectives match. Adjectives, and we just learned this in our class, adjectives match the noun they're describing in gender, in number, and in case. Case is your job, your noun job. Number, is it singular or is it plural? Gender, is it masculine? Is the noun masculine? Is the noun feminine? Or is the noun neuter? When you memorize a vocabulary word, you have to memorize its gender. And what job is it operating as? Is it the subject? Is it the possessive noun adjective? Is it the indirect object? Is it the direct object? Or is it operating in the sentence as the object of the preposition? So these are adjectives. We just learned this in chapter 11 and 12. And so I hope that helps. And thank you very much.